Honest J. Nowak. Coming at you live. Alright. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak, and to part 4 of today's marathoning session. I'm more glad that I've gotten this far. I'm more than glad about having a lot of these episodes to work with. Tons of new ideas coming in, and I'm more than happy that I'm also potentially going to have at least one last crossover episode, pretty much. Or maybe just a whole entire series worth of crossover related material. But anyways, time to talk about quotes. Pretty darn different than quotas, which I have talked about before in season 1. But in this case, quotes is certainly going to be something rather interesting, because if you remember when I had to do a milestone challenge, I actually went on ahead and spoke up about a lot of quotes that I used to say when I was a lot younger. Especially a handful of some of my personal favorites, like, quote unquote, things like cookies may be replaceable, but not love between one another. And that was back in 2013. Every now and then, though, it does seem like some people have heard about this, and as a result, they've actually used it, not crediting me. But because they've said it a little differently, I feel like it's just more of a bit of a ripoff. A simple ripoff, not one that just goes straight up, rips off my whole entire speech there. But then again, I mean, people pretty much just recite these things and hardly have the time to pretty much give out personal credit for that stuff. And then of course, you really just gotta imagine the fact that it's just maddening that somebody says something that was clearly said by somebody else, and then they claim it as their own, pretty much. The typical sort of piracy, if you will. Not like most others, which are actually at a federal level of criminal liability. But you really gotta picture the many possibilities of people out there whom have famous quotes of their own that are pretty much permanently put up on various websites that show that they belong to them and not to anybody else who's spoken up about them. I, of course, will never forget the fact that there are indeed quotes of all sorts. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Be sure to put your feet in the right place and stand still." And then who could ever forget about Gandhi's famous speech, which of course was, "Live as if you were to die, learn as if you were to live." Something along the lines of that sort of thing. But when you really get down to it, though, quotes are everywhere. They're abundant to the point where you can really have a lot to think about. But these days, there's certainly a ton of other things that you could also hear about. People of all sorts have their own thing to say. Do be sure to look them up every now and then, because celebrities sure are quite handy for giving us some memorable speeches, left and right. Peter Cullen, however, is my top favorite pick. For obvious reasons. Optimus Prime. And if you feel like that, the quotes just pile up left and right only because of the character that's been around since 1984, then wow, you really have a lot to think about before you even come up and just straight up mention this kind of stuff that clearly is more or less trolling related. Well, anyways, thank you guys very much for listening in on this, or even just watching this. If your eyes are not paying attention to the screen, then well, I don't really see the point in trying to look at the camera lens directly at it. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.